Hi Poke fans, Harry here, and sorry for the lack of uploads recently, but I have been ill, and I just haven't, been able to record a YouTube video, but now I am back, I'm recording YouTube videos, I am feeling a lot better. So, this video is actually going to go over, now that the Scarlet and Violet DLC has wrapped up the Indigo disc, I wanted to go over a video about Terapagos, the special Pokemon of that part of the Scarlet and Violet DLC. But before we get into that, don't forget to subscribe, also leave a like and comment down below, and let's get into the video. So, the main part I wanted to go over about Terapagos is its ability. Terapagos has 3 different forms, and in each form it has an ability, a different ability than its other forms, and this is something completely new for Pokemon. Of course, this is why Terapagos has a whole part of the DLC dedicated to it. And the ability I wanted to pick up is its Terastal form, its first normal Terastal form that you face off against, and that ability is Terra Shell. And anyone who has played that part of the DLC should know that it is difficult, but not insanely hard. And that is because, as I say, Terra Shell is described as the Pokemon shell contains the powers of each type. All damage-dealing moves that hit the Pokemon when HP is full will not be very effective. And that is Terra Shell. However, it says that Terapagos contains the powers of each type. However, it says that the powers of each type is just all damage-dealing moves that hit the Pokemon when its HP is full will not be very effective, which isn't an every-type Pokemon, because an every-type Pokemon would have a type chart all to itself. I have done this, of course, this is what the video is about. So, this, not like all damage-dealing moves when the Pokemon HP is full, is not an every-type Pokemon. However, I have gone over the type chart, and an every-type Pokemon would indeed be very different. Now, I am not going to go over the type chart for every Pokemon, because this video would be really long, and also I think I would lose you in it, and I would probably lose myself in it, but if you just type in on Google Pokemon type chart, you will come up with like the first option I think will have a good type chart for you, and you'll be able to know it. But if you're an OG Pokemon fan, you know the type chart really well. So, would an every type Pokemon actually be good? So I have noted down what an every type Pokemon will be strong to, weak to, resistant to, immune to, and even neutral against. I have counted every type. So would an every type Pokemon actually be good? So, first up, let's see what an every type Pokemon is strong to. What are its strengths? So, an every type Pokemon would be strong against normal, grass, psychic, and dragon. 4 types. Okay, pretty good. Not as good as some others, but it is above average for types it is strong to, because a strong type like fire, water, grass, electric, they have quite good strengths. They have quite a lot of strengths, like 3, maybe some have 4. So every type is doing pretty well, and Psychic and Dragon are quite strong Pokemon. So if you have a type that is good against those 2 types, you're doing pretty well. You won't have to worry about any big major things, because Psychic and Dragon are really strong types. And Normal and Grass pop up quite frequently, so it's good that an every type Pokemon is strong against those types too. However, what are its weaknesses? Well, it is weak to 3 types now. It is weak to Fire, Water, and Fairy. And while you might be thinking, oh well, it's strong to more types, and as you said, Psychic and Dragon are really strong types, so that's good that this every type is good against those, it's not so good for its weaknesses. Fire, Water, and Fairy are actually really strong types, and Water is really prevalent. water types just pop up every single time. There are loads of water rights in Pokemon. I mean, just take a look at Hoenn, and every type Pokemon would not do well in the Hoenn region with the amount of water. I know the meme 7.8 too much water. And also, Fire and Fairy, while not being that prevalent, are really strong Pokemon. You always want to have a Fire or Fairy type on your team because they are really strong Pokemon and they go into the cores of Pokemon. There are 3 cores in Pokemon that a lot of Pokemon players like. That is obviously the normal one, which is Fire, Water, Grass. And then the other one, which is actually Fairy, Steel, and Dragon. So, with an every type Pokemon being weak to a couple of types in those 2 cores, would it actually do well in a playthrough where you have to encounter those Pokemon quite regularly? It's getting a little weaker than I thought an every type Pokemon would. But now let's move on to another one of its strengths, actually what types it resists. So, an every type Pokemon would resist 3 types: Grass, Ice, and Rock. Now, Rock is actually quite a common type, so for you to resist that, it is actually really good. I mean, back in the day when we had the HM for Rock Smash, Pokemon would actually hide in that, Rock types would actually hide in that, and you'd have to either battle them or run from them. So in every type Pokemon being resistant to a type that just keeps popping up would actually be really good. I mean, one of the main things that a real good roadblock that people remember is obviously the Sudowoodo from Heart Gold and also Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. And for an every type Pokemon to resist types that just keep popping up, of course being Rock, that is really good. Now, Ice types are glass cannons, and really, Ice, unfortunately, doesn't have a lot. I'm sorry, Ice, but you are quite weak. The Ice type is quite weak. So, an every type Pokemon, if it was bad against Ice, then you don't really need to worry, because every other type is strong against Ice. I'm sorry, I love Ice types, but an every type Pokemon being resistant to them isn't that big a deal. And as I said, it's already strong against Grass type, so it resisting Grass type is just dealing hard to Grass types. And while Grass types are quite common and some of them are quite strong, it's a similar case with Ice types. You're not going to run into a Pokemon that is hard pressed to deal with Grass types. But now let's move into the immunities of an every type Pokemon. And I was actually shocked by this, because an every type Pokemon is immune to 7 types. That's right, 7 types. Ghost, Electric, Ground, Normal, Fighting, Psychic, and Poison. That is a lot of types. For you to be immune to this many types is insane and crazy. When you combine all the immunities, you don't know how much it actually makes up. 7, which is insane and crazy. I mean, if you are immune to Ghost, Ghost type is a massive one. Electric, also a massive one. And also Ground type again, massive, as well as Psychic, Fighting, even Poison. Poison is good against Fairy, and that is a major buff in the Poison type. Poison was always quite weak until Fairy type got introduced. But you being immune to these types, when you actually look at their type chart, you can see how strong they are. I mean, Ghost, Poison, Normal might not sound that strong, but they are actually incredibly strong when you look at the types they are super effective against, the types they resist, the types that they are immune to. It is insane and crazy that an every type Pokemon can resist typings like this. This is probably the biggest thing into showing how strong an every type Pokemon is, because resisting 7 types and these types is insane. And while it might be weird to finish it off with types that an every type Pokemon is neutral to, I wanted to bring it up because it is quite impressive. It's neutral against Flying, Bug, and Steel, and while Bug isn't that terrifying in Pokemon, Flying and Steel are actually really good types, especially Steel. Steel has so many resistances and just is strong against so many types as well. For an every type Pokemon to be neutral to it is amazing because it can counter or at least check a Steel type and lock it into at least a stalemate. Because Steel can be so prevalent just ploughing through many things. Again, it is strong against Fairy types and it resists Dragon type Steel. But if an every type Pokemon can just, well, basically shut down a Steel type, that is incredibly strong. And also, Flying is quite prevalent as well. Flying like sort of flies under the radar. So people don't realise how strong it actually is, but it's quite strong. Of course, there are like other types that cover what Flying is super effective against, but Flying, I think, is a pretty good type. So for an every type Pokemon to at least be neutral to it is amazing. So, to bring it back to the start of this video, would an every type Pokemon be strong? Well, with the amount of immunities this Pokemon has, well, an every type Pokemon would have, and that it is strong to two heavy hitting Pokemon, as well as being neutral to another really heavy hitting type of Pokemon, that is insane. I think it would be really good, is what I would be saying. However, a Pokemon can only learn 4 moves at any one time, and no combination of moves can hit all of the Pokemon types. I have tried it out. Believe you me, even bringing in moves like Flying Press, which have fighting and flying damage, it still doesn't cover every type. I have tried loads of combinations and I just can't find that. So an every type Pokemon would still lose to at least one type, because there is no one type, well, no combination of moves that can hit all of the Pokemon types. If you just run into one move, one type, especially if it is a Fire, Water, and Fairy, as an every type Pokemon would be weak to those, you are done. An every type Pokemon, of course, is immensely strong. However, Pokemon is actually an incredibly balanced game. I know a lot of people like to, of course, rip on Pokemon, especially for, the graphics and, even the story, but it is an incredible game of balance. It is, of course, basically designed for children as well to play it, so one type can't be too overpowered, and even shown if you put every type of Pokemon together, something that they were scared of actually doing to Terapagos, it will not win every battle. And I just think that is insane and crazy and interesting as well. But of course, let me know what you think down in the comments below. What do you think of this every type? Did I miss something? And also, if you like this video, don't forget to leave a like. Also subscribe and share it out. And I will see you in the next one.